welcome to another installment of Fail Forward Friday. I'm Malesela and Roche. I'm with my co-hosts,
Roche Mamabulo.
Dr. Roche Mamabulo.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
they must
okay.
know that you heal people in business, Doc.
Yes, not the.
No. Not, yeah.
I'm going to freeze if somebody collapses here.
Yeah, I know. And we have, again, you see us both
Yes.
in the same picture. It means we have a guest today.
Yes.
But before we get there, again, let's explain how this show works. Doc?
Yeah, so Fail Forward Friday is a show about failures, people who have failed before, made mistakes. Some have recovered, others, it was the end.
Yeah.
So what we basically do is we dissect, we go deeper. We look at what mistakes they've made, product mistakes, strategy mistakes, business model mistakes. We just go deeper and we look at what can we learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, subscribe, comment, and
yes.
maybe you can also come and join us.
Yes, share.
Why not?
Share with your friends,
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
fools. Just share.
I wonder who fools are. But anyway.
You know, because that's how that investments is.
Yes, family, friends, and fools.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to introduce our host.
Yes, so today is a special show.
Yes.
We have, for the first time,
yes,
and hopefully not the last time,
a friend of the show.
A friend of the show. We are unveiling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fail Forward Friday, Tebogo.
Hi,
Yeah.
Tebogo.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good, thanks, and how are you?
I'm alright.
Yeah, so this is the first female.
Yes, you are officially the first female.
Yeah.
First of many?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So Tebogo, what?
Who are you?
Yes. What is Tebogo renowned for? What's your claim?
Renowned.
What's your claim to fame?
When people Google you, what are they going to find?
When you Google me, I'm not Googleable.
Okay.
That's one. Okay, I'm Tebogo Mahlo. I used to be an accountant, and now I'm a researcher. So I found my tribe in silence, but also making an impact. An introvert. Like, we're going to talk about introverts in business today,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so I'm one of them. I live it, I breathe it. And like you say, talking about failures in business and whatever, sometimes it's like the inherent character that slows you down. But also when you don't really know yourself and who you are. And well, society has a lot to play in that as well. Because we're expecting entrepreneurs to be charismatic, loud, all of that. But not all of us are like that. And I think introverts are the most intelligent people, so they need to be given
I'm sorry.
that space. Well, there's research apparently, but then correction. But that's all about me. I do strategic advisory, but based on research. So I go deeper and think harder before the strategies.
So I left accounting.
Yes.
Because I was dying there. I got tired of audit files and year-ends and balancing and journals. Why did you leave?
I think accounting probably worked for me.
I was about to say, that's introverts.
It did. However, because at that time, I didn't really recognize the fact that I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
Because, also the fact that I would have worked in one company for the longest time, I got used to everyone. But the fact that I was always drained, I thought it was the long hours. It was I basically attributed it to long hours. But also, in entrepreneurship, I do more hours than I did in accounting.
Yeah.
But I'm not drained. And I at that time I used to say I'm shy. But shy is not introvert, because there is extroverts who are shy as well, right? So that's when I realized that shy is someone who's afraid to make societal mistakes or avoid societal judgments, whereas with introverts it's about the energy and I don't know what else to call it besides energy, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it was that, and then I realized that actually I'm an introvert. But also I was tired, and I didn't know what it was, to be honest. I thought it was the long hours. I mean, working and leaving the office after midnight and should be there by 7 o'clock the next day.
Yes.
Also then I was like, but I don't see my friends. But now, funny, I hope they're not watching. I don't want to see them. I still, you know.
When did you discover you're an introvert?
I discovered that I'm an introvert because when I went into business with people as well.
Yeah.
And it's when I went into consulting where I am now working on my own, and then I will have my output.
Yeah, you have energy to actually do so much more.
So much more.
Yeah.
And then when they say present, I'm like, why? Can't you just read it? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then then I think I used to think, maybe, you know, when mental health things start coming up and you're thinking, maybe can I lay a trauma from somewhere that I don't know about? And then you actually really look at yourself and realize, well, no, man. Even at family dinners, they know, like my siblings will say, come, we're having dinner at wherever. I get there, they're like, okay, we're done eating, you can go. But I know they'll be back home the next morning.
Yeah.
But they know. And it's not like I'm going anywhere. I'm going home. And when I get home, it's not like I'm going to get home and sleep. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to read. I'm going to work even, you know. And I realized that actually I just love being on my own in my own space. And I need that space to get out. I need to be filled before I go out. Whereas extroverts go out empty. And then they draw from people like myself.
So there's a thing that introverts, and to your point, it's not that they are shy. One of the actual difference is, look at it this way, right? You go to a party, right? Or an event or a function, right? The difference between an introvert and extrovert is that after the party, the introvert wants to go home and cuddle. The extrovert, after the function, wants to go and after party.
Yes.
Like, does this have to end? Like, is this it? Introvert is like, when is this ending? You know?
Can an extrovert or an introvert turn into the one or the other? Actually, that's it. That would be interesting to understand.
But I think there is spectrums, right? We identify ourselves as either or.
Yes,
but then there's
gray area.
There's
gray
the
areas.
ambivert,
Yes,
so the one in the
ambiverts.
middle,
But you don't hear someone say, oh no, I'm an ambivert.
So they have moments where they really want
Yes.
people, and they have moments where they really want to be
By
alone.
extreme, yes.
Yeah, so
this side,
And you think
tomorrow
they're
that
moody.
side.
Yeah.
You think they're moody.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, it sounds like you discovered later in life.
I discovered later in life, and I think it's also it's schools and workspaces that also do not allow you to say I'm an introvert, right?
Sure.
And I'm gonna reveal my age. When I grew up at school, you each had a desk, right? And then you would work in silos. But now they've got pods.
I've
Now
never
kids.
seen- I don't understand what you mean by.
So you have
Desk
your own.
and-
You're sitting in rows, but you have your own your
Yes,
desks, right?
yes.
Now they have that circle thing. The kids are together.
Oh, is
Whether
it?
you're doing maths, you're doing
Is it?
creative writing, they're all together, right? And for me, I need solitude to do
Sure,
that, right?
sure.
And then you go to a workspace, it's open plan.
Sure.
People can just come to you whenever. By the time you get to midday, you've spoken to so many people that you're not even creative. And I used to say, no, I'm more productive early mornings and in the evenings.
Because you thought that you're just tired in the evening. Yeah.
And during the day, I'm tired. But if you think about it, during the day, that's when people are all over your space.
True.
So you are drained, and then you want to your own space. When you are really productive, is in solitude. So, but
So Sorry, no, go on.
Yeah.
Finish your thought.
No, I'm just saying that also people then start thinking that you don't like people, but it's not that. It's not like you don't like people. Obanyaga 1-1. Not in groups.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Not in large quantities.
No, not in large quantities. You don't want to overdose, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
it's and also like you're saying at a party, I can go. I usually take an extroverted friend to a party because an introvert will force me to talk to them throughout the party, right? So an extrovert will also go out and socialize. I have a friend who just every time I like now started running with her. Every time we run at races, she's talking to strangers. Oh, I like your shoes and whatever. I'm like, every time she looks at me, I'm like, go talk to them. It's fine. You know, it's fine. Go talk. Also, give me a break, right? And I will be sitting in my little corner there on my phone, probably reading something or chatting to someone who's not at the party. And someone was like, are you okay? But honestly, I am having fun. I am having fun.
So there was an incident. My brother is an extrovert, and I'm an introvert.
Are you introvert, dog?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey, man.
When did you know?
Asking, dog.
Hey, man. I'm a hectic one.
Okay.
Like, so he's an extrovert.
Yeah.
And so we used to go to the soccer quite a lot.
Sure.
So there was a time we were supposed to go to the game. I said proceed, right? I had the tickets. So he says proceed, I'll find you there. So I go, I get there, something happens, he can't come. So
Yeah.
I'm alone. So I have an extra ticket. So he says, no, you can sell it, you can sell the ticket or you can give it away. So I'm sitting there, I'm like,
Such a mammoth task.
So I look, I must now get someone else. I'm like, no. You know what? I struggled to even give it away. I went with it inside. So, so the other time, I go with him. Here, Molof does. He's got. We have extra tickets. So I don't know what happened. Some other people didn't show up. So we've got. So I'm like, hey, you sell it.
Yes.
Mali, we park the car. As we get out, when I finished locking the car, he sold the tickets.
Already. Yeah, that's my kind of guy. I'm not even gonna lie.
When did this happen?
Never.
Right now, Henry's Wafela, he's like, hey.
Listen, my wife always complains that I'm too extroverted.
Is it?
I know. Whenever
And your wife is introvert, right?
Very.
Yeah, no,
But
your wife is
that's also another thing. They say introverts always find an
Extroverts.
extroverted partner.
Yeah.
And I always thought it's because we
Say
give,
yin and a yang.
and also we give them space to talk. So we never compete with my turn to talk or whatever. We're always listening.
But what I find though is if you are passionate about something, I think introverts do talk, but they obviously need to be comfortable with someone.
Yeah.
Like the reason why you would not think I'm an introvert is because most of the time we talk business.
True.
And I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
And because I've spent so much time alone reading these things and processing them, so when I get someone who gets it, it's like an outlet.
Yes.
To say, you don't know what I found. This is right. But I'll go for a while and then I'm tired. I'm like, okay, I've done enough talking for the day. That's it.
Now your turn.
Yeah, like, Kesha.
Yeah.
But one of the other things also that could be frustrating to other people is some or most introverts. They obviously, well, it depends. I mean, they have their own moments where I know, for instance, I'm a morning person, but I'm not a morning.
Let's get things done. Yeah.
I need to defrost. So I need to have that moment where I defrost,
100%.
right? When I can't be on the phone at 6:30. I don't take calls in the morning after a particular time. Right? When a person calls me at 8, no, it's too early. Why are you calling me at 8?
Dog.
It's not that I'm sleeping or anything.
It's just,
no.
Call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be like, I've been awake.
No.
It will be like, oh, Robert,
So it's like we have office hours that are 8.
Sure.
But my internal office hours starts at 9.
I get you. You're the Cape Town type of...
Well, probably, but you know, and it might be that I'm working or I'm reading. It's not like I'm not doing anything.
Yes, I get
I'm
what
just
you
not
mean.
ready for the world.
Socializing, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to get into this research that
Okay.
Joe
Yes.
has done.
Yes. Let's get into it.
It's quite interesting
Yes.
because I hear the dynamics
Yeah.
now.
There's actually a book by a lady, Susan Cain.
Oh yes.
She wrote quiet. I forgot the tagline, and she talks about the power
Introverts.
of introverts.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we live in an extroverted world.
Yes.
And if you look at different countries, like for instance, most of us, as we look forward to this westernized culture.
Okay.
And the westernized culture always comes across, I think we have had this discussion, it comes across as very extroverted. The
Sure.
one who makes the loudest noise,
True.
gets
Okay.
the attention.
Okay. I was about to ask,
you know?
explain what you mean by extroverted world. But
Yeah,
that's exactly what you said.
We celebrate those who make the loudest noise.
Yeah. The leaders are supposed to be
the
those,
loudest
yeah,
ones.
I get what you mean.
And the media always looks to your Trump. You know, the
Yes.
individual who has to rise up.
Yes.
And we then don't understand the quiet nations like your China, your Japan,
Yes.
because those tend to be very.
By the way,
introverted.
Elon Musk is introvert.
No, I know. No.
And Dr. Seuss.
Can we not go there? Oh my word! Oh, Tiamo, he's doing this to me. Okay. Yes, he is. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these guys. But in terms of nations, China, Japan, the Eastern countries tend to be more introverted, quiet, and the Western countries tend to be more vocal. And we always tend to look at the best leadership styles coming from the West. Because they are the most vocal.
Loudest,
And growing up, we tend to think we also need to be loud to be celebrated.
Sure,
and actually, that's
sure.
not true. But yeah, it's a great book. I recommend it. I loved it. Quiet. The power of introvert in a world that can keep quiet or something.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, she also talks about that funny enough is that Muhammad, solitude has always been there, right?
Yeah.
And has always been a way of getting answers, right? So Moses went out to the
Yes.
wilderness. Muhammad, Buddha, everyone goes there.
Jesus.
But we don't want, like now, we don't want people to do that. We don't give them the space in solitude. Because when you are in solitude, the world sees it as, I don't know,
Inactive.
you're inactive, you're not. But also another part of the research is that because introverts are overly prepared for everything, right? So the risks that they take are very minimal.
Yeah, so they're very calculated.
Very methodological in their thinking, all of that.
Well,
so we also take longer to get
that.
to a decision.
I get that.
And once you get into it, you sort of.
But can I ask a harder question?
Yeah.
Is it that you take longer to make a decision because you're introverted, or because you just don't like risks? Because I think they are quite generally. I can see why you would say that. To say introverts because they are alone a lot of the time, so they have more time to think and more time to act.
Less noise, yeah.
Yeah, but is it that because it's that side of the personality, or is it more towards the, how can I put it, the person themselves and how their overall personality is, not outside of the extrovert and whatever. So outside of your experience, let's say.
No, I don't think it's the risk that I'm talking about. It's not whether you've got the risk appetite or not.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So there would be personalities that are more susceptible to risk, and some are not, right? But with introverts, you literally go north, east, south, west on any decision, right?
Yeah, because you've had time alone.
Because you've had time alone, and also you dive deeper into situations.
So overthinkers.
And also
Okay.
if we are sitting in a room, let's say it's a presentation, someone is presenting, the introvert is not likely to talk.
Sure.
And when they
That's
get
true.
to talk, they're asking questions,
Yes.
right? So they listen deeper. I'm not going to say we are better listeners, because other people, extroverts, can also listen better as well. But we listen to the deeper meaning of what you actually are saying, right? But also in business, those are the things that might just get you into trouble because you're like, and like, what was behind what you were saying?
Okay.
Maybe
okay.
I can't go into business with you because you didn't give me all the information that I needed. And when they get to talk, like sometimes my dad used to say, no, when you have a conversation with her, you need to ask her what she thinks. Because she's not gonna tell you what she thinks. Right? Because I'm not really thinking. I'm analyzing everything that you're saying. I'm like, if you're saying this, do you really mean that, or are you scamming me? Like, you know, why would you say that? Why do you think that? Why do you think like that? You know. So then it's all of those things. So in business, is that by the time they make the decision, they're going with your minimum risk, right?
And
it's
sometimes it's limiting, like you're saying.
sometimes it's limiting, but also that is also what you kind of need in business, especially in these economic times, to not make the risk blunders like that.
That is interesting. Doc, what do you think about that statement?
It's true.
Is
I think. Look, I mean, if you have an introvert that just moves on the spur, is because they've trained themselves to do that.
Okay.
But ordinarily, they go deeper on issues. And Tebogo is right. I mean, I've seen it in corporate.
Okay.
Where would be in a meeting.
Sure.
And somebody will be presenting and be asking a question or looking for a solution. And everybody will raise their hands. Because
Sure.
obviously, that's how the corporate game is played. The one who sees
The
to be
loudest.
the loudest and whatever tends to get their attention.
Sure.
But then you'll get to a point where the meeting ends up not having a solution because those who raise their hands don't have the solution. And the solution is with the one who's quiet. And because, he's
But
overanalyzing things.
is that not a thing of preparation, though?
Well, it might be a thing of preparation, but also if everyone else is not prepared.
But that I get.
Yeah. So if everyone else is not prepared, you are likely to have the person with the best ideas not coming forward because the platform itself is not designed
Sure.
for him to be able to feel free
Sure.
to come forward.
Sure.
So typically what will happen is at the end of the meeting, right?
Then they will go out
Then-
and go to someone.
No, they'll go to the facilitator.
That's what I mean, yeah.
They'll go to the facilitator and says, well, how about this?
Sure.
And the facilitator says, like, but that's the answer. Why didn't you say it? Right? Like, well, I was not so sure.
Sure.
But those who are not even so sure, who are extroverts, they were the first ones to go. Right? All of us were not sure. But the ones who were not sure, extroverted.
So here's my thing, right? And I think I agree to say that 3 out of 5 times the person that critically thought, it's probably an introvert, right? Because again, you are right, they're not quick to talk because they don't like talking. So they'll first be like, and then in their minds they will go through this thing over and over again. But I think, and that's just my opinion, obviously, my opinion is more towards the more prepared you are, and whether you're extrovert, introvert, the more more understanding actually, because sometimes I guess staying in your own mind without asking questions. Let's say, for instance, you're an introvert. I can imagine you are absorbing all of this, but because you have questions, you can't word them out right away around a group like this. Then you'll go home and even think about it even more. Whilst an extrovert will just start probing. You know how I probe you, Doc, for instance. Doc knows I probe. But I probe because I want to understand. Not to say I don't.
But also,
and that's what I'm asking. Like, I think from that point of view, is it. Hence, I'm asking, the question for me was more around, is it that a person that is introverted, and I do get it, it makes sense, will ask but always have the answer, rather than the extrovert that is always quick to shoot?
No.
If an introvert has got the answer, he won't ask.
They won't answer.
Why should I explore?
Yeah.
Why should I talk? I don't need to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
I have the answer. I'm fine.
Okay.
so you ask to you, and that's another thing
Yeah.
with being an introvert in business is that you will always ask the right questions for that solution.
Is it
right?
is it always, or is
Well,
it just
most likely,
Yes,
you're most likely
okay.
to ask the right questions because, like you're saying, if I have a solution for something, I'm
Yeah.
not going to ask, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And then,
But there are people who-
but there are some people who ask so that they can show you
Yes.
that they know better, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
But we're also happy to be in the same room with people with egos.
Yes.
Because I can always look at you and like, geez, if only I was like that.
Yeah.
We're not even, we like that.
Yeah,
But just
yeah.
not every day, right?
Sure.
And also another thing with the, like you're saying, raising hands and whatever, it's a societal thing. We live in groups, right?
100%.
And then the loudest is the one who's followed, but the loudest is not always the smartest, right? And the introvert will always give you, the society, the space, because
Sure.
then why must I get into a draining energy
Actually,
exercise? So
I
I'll just
get you.
sit back.
So here's my question, especially around Elon. Now, let's think Elon. Because the man shoots from the hip.
Tebogo
That
rescue
man-
me.
That man shoots from the hip, but he's an introvert. How does that work?
Look, Elon is smart, right?
Sure.
He obviously he's a genius.
Yeah,
He's one of
yeah.
those, and so and I don't think it's an Elon thing. It's a genius thing.
Okay.
There are a lot of geniuses who they're impatient with people who don't get
Yes.
things at
Okay.
the go.
Okay, I get
so
you.
he's a Sheldon.
Sure.
You know, he's
Your
a
favorite character.
Yeah. He's a Sheldon, right? He gets impatient with people who they feel this is obvious. You should know this.
Sure, I get
Kind
you.
of a thing, and often, and I'm willing to put a bet. Well, maybe not a bet, but
I'm gonna search. I know where you're going with this. I'm gonna search for that because I don't believe that. I definitely do not believe that. But anyway, go ahead. Ask. Say.
you don't even know where.
I
You don't
know
even know my
you're
question.
As I open ChatGPT. Okay.
I was gonna say. Okay, I was gonna say. I'm willing to put a bet that the majority of geniuses
Geniuses are introverts. Okay.
But I also said it, that introverts are the smartest and the most intelligent. There is research on it. I just don't know. I can't
Okay.
give you a citation, but
We're not saying extroverts are not smart.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Okay, let's do this. Let's go into
Yeah.
that because now we're going, and I want to get to something here on I think either or.
Yeah.
Both sides of the coin actually have
Yeah. To
their
end.
own. Yeah. But
Okay, also, like my blunders, I think that I had 2 deals that I lost in
Sure.
business now because of me being
Okay.
introvert, right? So one is that someone says, talk to this guy, he is waiting for your call, and I think you guys can work together and he can give you business. Like, Kiloring, like, what do you
what
want me
should
to
I even
say?
say?
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna call you and say what?
Yeah.
Like, you know. Also, I don't want a meeting. Like, why must I leave and then go meet you? Koring, what do you want? Like, also tell me what you're gonna ask me, what you wanna know, so that when I get there, I can email you my proposal. Like, will that work? And I prolonged it until this was in 2017 when this referral was made.
Yeah.
So I sent him a text and I said, got your numbers and I will come back to you. What do you need from me? And he said, I need a proposal, what you can do, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, cool. I only made contact with this guy 2024.
okay.
You got the
2024.
Yes.
From 2017.
Maybe 2019, yes. Well, still.
Yeah,
but-
it's not
but even still.
Yeah, still. And then I made contact with him in 2024, and then he said, I'm no longer Kwale, I moved. You know? But send me a proposal. So I then get a team together, we work on a proposal, I send it through. And then he says, oh, I see it, and I don't know where to place you in our business. However, come and let's talk. I'm like, alone with my team. It's like, yeah, bring your team. But my team is extroverted, right? So I sat there the whole time and I said nothing, right? But I could tell that this is not going anywhere. we are meeting because we were supposed to have met many years ago. You've already said you can't place me in your business. So right now, it's just a courtesy that, listen, I've made you wait. So I sit there the whole time and then, but also the extroverts, right? They're going on and on. I'm thinking, this is not it. This is not it. But I kept quiet. Like, this is not it. This is not what we do, you know? This is not what we spoke about. Why are we saying this to this guy? But then I'm also thinking, I can't embarrass my team member and start saying things. And then we walked out of there and I was like, what was the takeout? And for me, it was nothing. All right. And another incident was my ex-group CFO says, hey, we need to link up. You know, what do you do now? Maybe there is some opportunity. Took me a year. That time.
That's a terrible thing.
No, that time I'm like, but I've improved from 5 to 1. I mean, you know, gotta give me that.
Doc, how long have we been trying to get her in India?
But you know, I also have that moment where I still need to. I've proposed. I've had a pitch. They kept quiet, and this was in Jan.
Yeah.
And I keep on saying I need to follow up. I need to follow up. We are April now. I haven't followed up.
But at least you started. At least you started.
No, I did.
Yes.
But even then, you know, I mean, one of the biggest challenges, and I don't know about Tebogo, but I think when people say, you must cold call, cold call.
Like, I'll be honest, I can't cold call. I'm an extrovert, but I don't do cold calls.
Yeah, it's...
I would rather see you and start speaking to you,
That
and I'll
is-
find relevance around how do I speak to you. That's it.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the challenges is also that. Like, they will say,
So
you
you
must network, and you go to these places, and you don't know one, and you must... Please don't make fun of me. So, because I know you were making...
But didn't you have
So-
a networking thing back then? Like,
Well,
when you organize people to...
no, that I can do. but let me...
Dog.
Let me give you an example of
Explain
when
yourself.
when I was attending the TED conference
Yes.
last year.
Yes.
And I mean, that thing was hectic. Like, it was, I think, 2.5 days, 3 days, and we are in a foreign country. We stand out. I mean, I think in that conference we're like the only 2 black guys.
Yeah.
In that conference, so we stand out already.
Yeah.
And these guys talk like you get in there. Day 1 we got there. Hey, how are you? Where are you from? What? Talk. And then, okay, it was an evening thing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's dense. And it's a guy. I mean, I love Tati. He's like the best guy. Tati is an extrovert. Tati loves networking.
Yeah.
And now we are in a foreign country. It's an evening gala thing. So I was there 2 hours. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Tati, when are we leaving? I don't know, Roshman, relax. The train's here. They finish very late.
Is that South Africa? How train doesn't end
Yeah,
at
it's
8?
8 or 12.
Yes, I'm thinking, in the next hour, no, we'll go at 11. It's 2 hours away. I'm like, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it means more talking. Oh, Nkosiam. The following day, the conference starts. Talk. There was a time in between the sessions where there's a break and you go out, and I decided I'm not going out.
Sure.
I'm going to sit in the conference room because it's a breakout session.
Sure.
I'm going to sit here and just
Gather your strength.
gather my strength. Because if I walk out of that door, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And this is in the morning already.
Yeah.
I'm like, the whole day I have to, I'm like, no. You know? So networking, firstly, it's hard to it's
Sure.
right. But
Sure.
secondly, you do it, you run out of steam
Yeah. So
earlier than everybody else.
I want to explain, okay, from my point of view as an extrovert, right? And maybe, I don't know if it's just me or other extroverts also go through this. If I don't see, going back to your point around how if you go to a place and you don't see anything that's going to come out of it, that's exactly how I act. I don't, if I already, because I overanalyze things as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't keep quiet, but I will analyze it and I'll think about it and I'll over, even though I'm talking whatever, but I'll still be thinking about that very thing. But if I get to a place and I see it's going nowhere, I won't, I start talking about something else that's not
See, that's
what
the
we
difference.
actually, yeah.
That's the difference.
Because this is not going to go anywhere.
We let the ego exists, right?
Yeah.
So I will let you talk. In my head, I'm like, but I'll sit there, I will listen to you, and we will
Some
finish.
introverts are rude.
So we will, but you probably are saying it because the facial expression, you can't cheat it. But I will sit there and then I'll be like, okay, I'm here. I've got an hour for you, so I'm gonna give it to you. And coming to that, the same thing is that because we don't really like the spotlight,
Sure.
so we let the people with the great charisma, whatever charisma is, which I think is wrongly defined anyway, is that we let them be. And nice thing about it is that then the leadership of an introvert, you are leading from the back.
Yeah.
So you can produce more leaders. You're not fighting with
Yeah,
anyone for
yeah.
spotlights. You let the people take
True.
their spots.
I go back to Elon, guys. That man does not hold back for nobody.
You mean in
But
what
also
sense?
remember, if you're an introvert and a genius, well, usually they are, but also, I don't know if I can say this on podcast, but I think that for you to be an Elon, you need another level of sociopathy in
Yeah.
you.
True. Okay, so let me give you another person.
No, you
that-
can't say that.
Okay, I've said it. I said what I said.
Yes, that you can say.
You
Okay,
need,
but
you need
let's
that
think about
level.
all these other ones. So I saw earlier on you were searching type
Yeah.
of businesses, that business people that were introverts, right? Example was so Bill Gates,
yeah.
Warren Buffett is another one, and those people are geniuses, but they talk their mind.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that, I mean, they are geniuses, right? And I don't want to say they're geniuses in the form of, no, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They know exactly their work. So they're geniuses from that point of view. And maybe you put them in any room, they are generally just geniuses. But I don't see them, for instance, like I still see a bit of, they are leaders. So they are able to talk. They are able to answer questions. They are able to, in front of a crowd especially, you know what I mean? And do you think then it's more of a, it should, because I think it's more of a, don't be one-sided.
I don't think leadership, yeah, the introverts is in that way that you think it is.
Yeah.
I think you lead because you have to.
Okay.
Not because you want to.
Okay.
Right? So if you think of, who's that guy with Steve Jobs? He's also
Steve Wozniak.
Wozniak.
Yes. He's an introvert.
Yeah.
Right? And because he didn't want to really lead.
Yeah.
Right? Then he collabs with his Steve
Jobs,
Jobs,
yeah.
right? Who will go out there and shine.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna take his shine.
But
He's fine.
wasn't Steve Jobs an introvert as well?
He was, but in comparison to was
Obviously, yeah.
He's on
yeah.
maybe and he's an ambi, whatever
Yeah.
that people
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
But also another thing with that is that you get to I'm an introvert, I'm not shy.
Sure.
Right? So and I used to say shy. To everyone that I've ever said I don't talk to you because I'm shy, I apologize. I just don't have energy. Right? So it's a what do you call it? They're not shy. You saying they get up there and then they talk. You prepare. I remember when I came to the talk about business blunders, right? You can ask Roche. I probably, as soon as he told me that I'm going to talk, I sent him my script, I think a day later. I had a meeting with him on that day, and then we went through it. I checked if it's going to be the amount of time that is allowed. I recited my speech. I went there and I changed it. I think it was on a Sunday at, let's say, 5 o'clock. I only stopped reciting my speech at 5 o'clock because we started late. I left my group of supporters or whatever who were there.
Your fans,
and
yes.
I said, not my fans, my friends. And then I left. And I said, guys, I'm coming back. I need to breathe.
Sure.
So I left the energy to go into solitude.
Yeah.
And then go back and go over. So we're overly prepared. And also I also find that I do not when I speak in a crowd, I speak to a person.
Okay.
So I will pick
A person you speak to. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that
yeah,
person
yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
talk to. And then if I turn this way, I've already identified someone I'm talking to. And usually it helps. Like today I'm talking, I know Roche, I've seen you, so I can do this. So if it was two different people that I've never met,
Sure.
I probably would be looking at the ceiling or somewhere else, but not to a person I'm talking to.
Give me examples of, and obviously we're here to talk about the failures of
Yeah.
introverts and how people that are introverted shouldn't,
Yeah.
like, should see
Yeah,
their shortfalls.
I think before we move to
Okay.
that, right? Just to finish this, because I had this thought about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, and I'm of the view. I don't know if I've had this discussion with you to say, because Gates is such an introvert, he is, I think, one of the misunderstood, right? Entrepreneurs, because
Okay.
there are a whole lot of conspiracies around him. For instance, there was this whole thing about he was talking about, and I think this for me is common cause, that if you are, as a country, you're going to deal with we are going to deal with poverty.
Sure.
Right? One of the things that you need to look at is birth control.
Okay.
Right? Because if you are a family and you have 10 kids and you're poor, it doesn't help the cause. Right? So he also said something along those lines, and people started saying, no, he wants to sterilize Africans. What will they do? But because he thinks in engineering terms, and because he's an introvert, he doesn't have great PR, right? Unlike Jobs is a PR machine on steroids. So you have these two guys, and I'm willing to bet that the person who's doing the most important work now is Gates,
Okay.
with his whole philanthropy work. But because he's got a bad PR, a lot of people don't see the important work that he's doing.
So I beg to differ, first and foremost, because sometimes we can't blame. It's that whole conversation we had with, not Elon, with Kanye West, that whole situation, right? Where, and even Elon, right? We can't blame it on him being an introvert. Sometimes he thought it through. The fact that he thought it through and he still said it in the way he thought shouldn't have even been.
So true. But remember, as a genius, you think people get you, right?
I get
so,
that.
So a typical example would be there was a whole thing about Mbeki, for instance, former President Mbeki, and the fact that he was so far ahead of his comrades
Yeah.
in thinking,
Yeah.
right, that he left them behind.
Sure.
Right? And with respect, I'm not saying they were
Yeah.
dumb,
Yeah.
but his thinking was so far ahead, right?
Okay.
And he left them so far behind that they were disconnected from him, right? And they felt he's, aloof, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yes.
And in his mind, as we are talking, we are together. I don't even have to mention certain things because I think
We all
those
get
things,
it.
we
Yeah.
all get it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a typical thing with Elon, right? Elon does not have great PR, right? He's smart. He says things that people are like, oh wow, I have never thought about that. But he doesn't have great PR like Jobs had, for instance, or other people who have PR. They don't even invest in great PR because they think this is obvious. So a typical thing, and you would understand this far much better because you're in the tech space. So in the tech space, one of the biggest, clash is between salespeople and engineers. So engineers, they built this thing and they said this thing
Works.
It works and it's obvious.
Yeah.
Right? It should sell itself. This is piece of genius work. Salespeople said no. People are not on the level where you are. People don't buy it because, oh wow, it's a piece of genius and then they buy. No.
Yeah.
Ordinary people don't think that. So you need salespeople to convert this piece of genius into a story that ordinary people can get.
Yes.
And that's where the clash is. Because
Yes.
engineers says, no, it's obvious. Salespeople say, no, it's not obvious.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's what I'm getting with Gates. to say Gates says certain things because he obviously thinks these things are serious, are obvious for everybody. And for me, one of the tools to deal with poverty is birth control. But to millions of Africans, like, no.
Coming from a white man.
An American Nohan. No, it cannot be, right? And it bombs out. And then only later then it's like, oh, okay, clearly,
But I think, okay, but you want to say something, yeah?
But I wanted to say that, sometimes it's not outright being an introvert. I think also introverts are not necessarily genius. So we shouldn't say the genius is introvert.
Yeah.
So when you club them together,
Yeah.
like I said, there is that sociopathy thing in there as well. Because now I'm able to say, no matter what I said to Malesela is not right later on. And then I'm able to come back, right? And say, but he's going to be like, if he got it, he didn't get it, so what? You'll understand it later because dumb people are like that, right? So I think that arrogance of the sociopath also plays a role with those particular people. It's not necessarily the fact that they're introverts.
But that's what I'm saying. I think for me, the biggest thing is, where is introvert stop? Like, where does the introvert become it's an introvert thing versus it's this is just a person.
Yeah. So, and I think,
sorry, if you look at Richard Branson, right?
Yes.
He's also an introvert. But he's not like your Elon Musk. He's not like your... So there is also personalities in there as well.
That's exactly what I mean,
There is also personalities in there. I think if you look at it as energy, that the space that you're in is what makes you intro or extro.
Yes.
Not necessarily the personality.
Yes.
So it's about you being drained by being in this particular space, you being drained or you needing to sponge off someone's energy for you to be happier. Whereas someone says this thing, it's draining. Also, I think also the with introverts, because of societal standards that says it's group work or nothing. We end up getting into businesses that are not for us. But they are societal. Do you understand what I mean? Like, you find someone who is now a doctor, but introverted, and then they've got a practice.
Where they have to talk to patients.
20 people a day. Do you understand what I mean? And you can't talk to them for like 2 seconds. They're sitting with you for 30 minutes at a minimum. All of them, plus your staff that are going to call you, and then your accountant, and then it's a lot. But because society makes all of us committee members, and then we must all club in and kumbaya, then they say, this is the route to take, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, and do whatever. So you want to say, okay, I'm also bold, I can be out there, and then make the wrong choices.
I think the environment also plays a role. I mean, if you look at Branson is British, right? And your Musk and your Gates.
Musk is South African. They mustn't tell us.
Well, yeah.
He's South African by birth.
So
he adapted.
So the environment also plays a role, because if you're in a cutthroat environment, it's easy to drive you to being a sociopath, right? To drive you to the brink of just being cutthroat. So I think that's also important. But I mean, I do training. And part of what I do, part of what I do requires that I have to speak in front of people, and I hate it. I hate it. Oh my word! It got into a point where I was like, I'm no longer doing this. So if somebody invites me to speak, and I'll try and find an excuse not to go. And I once tried this thing where I said, okay, I have a speaking fee, it has to be a price. And I'm hoping that I quote this crazy amount, hoping that they'll say, no. And then they'll say yes. I'm like, oh. After classes, for instance, because, we have classes. After classes, I need to take a nap. Like, if the class finishes at 1, immediately after that, I'm out. I'm tapped out. I need to nap for another hour, 2 hours. whether it's physical, whether it's online, after class, I just need to go home, sleep, because I'm tapped out,
Yeah.
right? So it's things that for some people, you ask yourself and you talk to careers to say, do we really, when we choose careers, let me give you an example with my daughter. My daughter wanted to do bio something, what. And then, so we are doing research, right? We are doing,
Yeah.
that was so crazy. We are doing research. I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, I want to do this study. I want to do, okay, fine, we do research. And it gets to a point where they say, you work in teams.
Yes.
And she was like, that's it. I'm not doing it. I thought she's joking. She's like, I'm not working in teams, I'm out.
But so I actually did a bit of research around, especially when you're talking about teams. It's a good way, actually, segment to go into this, and how the world is a team, and that's what my question is around introverted people, is that, and I get you when you're saying you're doing consulting. Consultancy is different, but it still has to work with teams, because you still have to present to a client, and you still have to go to a client that you've never met before and say, okay, this is my findings around my research. And where does it...
Not even before you get there.
Actually, before you even ask
when you're even
this.
doing data collection.
Yes.
Like my team was like, oh no, you get the topic better, so you do the interviews.
And
Me.
exactly, yeah.
And I was like, I pray and hope that no one says in person. I literally had someone who said, oh no, I'm also around Pretoria, we can have coffee or Teams and whatever. I said, what time are you available for me to send you a link? I did not even entertain we can meet, because that was not going to work for me. And yeah, I think it's just you still have to work in teams.
Yeah.
I think you can't
avoid
you
it.
can't
can't
avoid
at
it.
all, yeah.
You can't avoid it. And I think so there's a whole thing about leading from the front and leading from the back, right?
Yeah.
And if you're a leader, then it talks to your leadership style. What is your leadership
Yes.
style? Introverts, when they are in a position of leadership, by sheer thing that I started this business and it's growing, and I need
Yes.
to have people, and that makes me a leader automatically,
Yes.
right? But then the question is, what is my leadership style? So
Yeah.
introverts, they tend to lead from the back. So they would come, brief everybody, this is what needs to happen, right? Are all on the same page? Yes, we're all on the same page. Go. And then here's the deadline, and then
Yeah,
we'll
we'll meet on that
and
day.
the deadline, and you'll present or whatever. Right?
What in your scenario, Doc? What career? Where are you leading from the back? Like, which company
So-
is this? Like, give me a picture.
So let's talk about what I do. Right?
Yes,
So
okay.
we've got training workshops. Right?
Yes.
So we will then have throw forward meetings on Monday.
Yeah.
So we meet with the team. There's a project manager who has prepared everything, who scheduled everybody. This is who this one is going here. Da, da, da. We have that meeting. The project manager presents.
Sure.
I stand back. If there are issues that needs to be resolved, that's when I step
Step
forward.
in, yeah.
Right. But otherwise, they're
Okay.
running the show.
Okay.
And as and when there are decisions that needs to be taken, when to step in, I step in.
Sure.
But most of the time, I'm at the back.
Sure.
Right. And maybe if maybe I need to speak to a client, then I have to obviously meet the client, then brief the team.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if you have like a team like that, you're always leading from the back.
Yeah.
Right. If there's a crisis, for instance, then I have to step forward.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's upset or said something, or, then I have to step forward and clean the mess, be the fixer, so to speak. Right? But other than that, I'm very much comfortable being at the back.
Yeah.
And the guys doing amazing things,
Yes.
And extroverts, they tend to be the one holding the meeting, chairing the meeting.
And weekly, daily meeting.
Weekly,
Check
daily
in at
meetings.
12,
Again.
check in at 3.
Again, I disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree because I think I do, okay, maybe it's just me, but I do things totally different from that. I'm a very structured person.
Yeah.
We do this each day because it has to do this. It has to lead to something. And that's why I'm like,
I think the idea is we're talking in general terms. We're not being specific,
yes.
right? In general terms, you'll have a Trump who's an extrovert.
Sure.
And he's He's the one who wants to be like, this is great TV. This is great TV. It's great TV. You know? Everybody, I'm glad the whole world can see this. This is great TV, right? You'll never do that with Xi Jinping. Never.
But who's to say that Xi Jinping, because that, again, you mentioned it earlier on, right? So the East is usually, that's the way the environment is. So even if you're an extrovert, you still have to think of, what's his name? Mao. Mao was not necessarily an introvert, he was an extrovert, right? And we know that. But his environment meant that he should still act a certain way to maintain the environment and the structure of how the society is supposed to be. And that's what I'm trying to get to say 100% extroverts are usually in the front row, but sometimes extroverts don't like public speaking. You know what I mean? Don't like the attention on them. Because it's not necessarily I think there's a lot that adds to it.
So maybe those would be your ambivert. So those would be the ones in the middle, right? Who there will be instances where I'm like, no, it's fine, I don't have to be. And there will be instances where they feel, hey, I want to be. Right? Let's have a meeting.
This is an opportunity. I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be seen.
So you find that those would be the ones in the middle, right? 1 minute that's
maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to do that.
Is there a test?
Yeah, there is a test. There's an online test where you can do it.
Like birthdays. I don't like celebrating birthdays.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why I'm saying that.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not public speaking. I hate public speaking.
So you're not all eyes on me, but
I don't like all eyes.
Yeah.
But when it's like this, I will speak.
Yeah. So
if there's a crowd, I will go to someone and speak to them. Like
you've never met them.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is.
Wow.
100%.
The thing is, there isn't a right or wrong personality,
Yes.
right? It's just obviously the differences and
it's how we navigate
navigate each other, right? And appreciating that we both need each other.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that my project manager is an extrovert.
Yeah.
She loves people. Like, I look at her in her element, I'm like, oh my word, I wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
I would not do this. I'm so glad you are here, because if you decide to leave, I don't know I'm gonna cope, because then it means and I don't think I can do this. So there's a guy who works, he helps me with some of my, one of my managers. The guy loves people. Like, so there's this other businesses where there are properties involved, and he knows everybody's business there. Everybody.
That's me.
Like, when I get there, and he'll be like, no, this one did this one did this. I'm like, oh, Kosiam, I don't have that energy for all this, right? He knows, and he wants to update me, and I obviously have to listen.
Yes.
Right? But I'm like, I'm not interested, right? But he loves it, and that's important, because he's able to connect with the people and make the people feel, heard and appreciated.
And also, doesn't that, sorry to cut you, doesn't that also help you as an introvert?
Yes.
When you have someone who's gonna talk before you, right? And then you come in.
Yeah.
One thing that I've also realized that we're able to match energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we have to get out of it. When I was in corporate, Budi, afternoon, after drinks and whatever. I tell you, I worked here, and a kilometer away is where the drinks were going to be.
Yes.
I lived 7 kilometers away. I went home first.
Yes.
Just to breathe.
And recharge.
Yes.
And then I joined them later.
Yes.
I still leave before everyone else. Because, but I will match you where I need to match you, but not every day.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thing that we need to...
Just last thing, Nam. I want to give you an example of a blunder because of introverts.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was there's this social media, and it's actually funny because both of these guys, funny enough, were in social media, and yet they were introverts that blundered in that sense. So the first one was the guy co-founder of Friendster, the one that came before MySpace and Facebook, the pioneer of social media. And the thing with him was that he did not collaborate.
Yeah.
He is an engineer. that did things but did not like collaboration. And again, if you're gonna build something that is for the masses, for collaborate, literally for the people, and you're not collaborating, it's only gonna end one way.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with him. I mean, he didn't even, all the way to his investors, he didn't have backing, like he didn't back his investors, they didn't really have
A connection
a
of
connection because he was very, oh no, it's all about how it's engineered, just like you're saying earlier on. Second one is actually on Twitter. So this guy called Noah Glass. So the first guy was Jonathan Abrams, co-founder. And then Noah Glass is from Twitter. It's an early founder of Twitter. So how Glass was one of the original minds behind Twitter. But his introverted nature and emotional reactivity made collaboration tough for people. And he struggled to communicate clearly with co-founders like Ivan Williams and Biz Stone, and often felt sidelined. And then rather than assertively advocating for his vision, he withdrew emotionally, which further obviously alienated him. And then obviously now, it obviously, his ideas, which was probably brilliant, could not even come out because he was very at the back. And I believe myself that truly you cannot just have an introvert and also you cannot just have an extrovert. You need a balance of this too, because the one, as much as they are out there, you need the ability to communicate, but you also need the ability to think and actually sit down and relax and realize and then go forward.
And I think that's where teams come in, right?
Yes.
So when you build a team, you need to be conscious of your character first, what type
Yeah.
of a person you are, and where, if you're an introvert, obviously the gap is you need someone who can talk to people.
Yeah.
So when you build a team, you need to bring people that you know are going to complement you. Right? Don't want to just build a ship of introverts, because then, it's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that it's the yin and the yang, that we need each other, and we need to. I just don't know how it works in marriage, but
And it works, you know that, dog.
no, sure.
It does.
I'm sure it works.
No, of course it works, because you can't. Well,
There is
But also-
compromise, obviously.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
understanding. I think that's
And
the most
that's the-
important
yes.
thing.
I
So
think
you
I
need-
think introverts need to understand that
And
the
extroverts
role.
the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
The role that extroverts play, but extroverts also have to understand and appreciate the role that introverts play. It's not that one is, because there's this notion that introverts they need to be cured. Why are you quiet? What's wrong with you?
Oborehile.
Oh, are you bored? What So be
Yeah.
like us. No.
Come out.
It's. I think introverts need to then understand that he or she is not angry.
Yeah.
Once in a while they need their quiet moment.
Yes.
And they're not being funny. They're not being moody. They're not. And introverts also need to understand that he's more excited when he's with his friends or where there are people. So he needs sometimes to be with people.
Yes.
And he's okay with it.
Yes.
Right? He's not being unreasonable when he's with people. Because when as an introvert you don't like always being with people. Him being with people doesn't mean he's neglect. Oh, when you don't like quality time. What, right? So
But
it's
also
not
another thing is that then the extrovert needs to know that you can't
always
be
be.
forever.
Yeah, no,
be
for
out,
sure.
you
Hence
know?
I'm saying
Like,
that
it's
there
a
has
give
to
and
be
take.
it has to be that
Yes.
appreciation
Yeah.
of the two, yeah.
Even in friendships, I've also realized that the friends who are much closer to me are the ones who understand.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I didn't run for a very long time, and then I went running and I cramped, right? And the friends who were and I understood, they were worried that you're on the road, we don't know where you are, and then they called, so are you okay, blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, get up, I'm going home, right? And I didn't even go back to the finish, I just went home.
Oh, it's a race.
It's a race, right? And then and then the one who got me, right, left. Like they kept asking her, where is she? And she's like, no, she's fine. Like, I know she's fine, right? And then they went and had breakfast. And then after breakfast, on her way home, this is me after getting home, showered, now lying on my couch. And then she calls me, she's like, how are you? You know, I was telling them, I'm like, yeah, please tell them. Like, at that time, remember, I'm from a race, right? So first and foremost, I started talking to people at 4:30. It's not normal, right? And then I get into crowds. And then everyone has not seen me in probably 2 years. And then they want to talk. Someone wants to say, hi. Then you're hugging people that you haven't hugged in 2 years. You must laugh and be happy. And then on the road, hi, Tebogo.
You did it to yourself again. I shouldn't have left for that long.
And then, so by the time I hit 10 kilometers, I was tired. Like, not because of my physically, but mentally.
How? You're running with the people.
Yeah, and I'm running with people. Now I'm suddenly, and I've never done this. I'm running in a bus, and now they're talking. They're doing. I had a running partner who knew not to talk to me before 3 kilometers is done, and then we'll talk at water points, and then we don't talk, and at times he'll just leave me because he realizes, okay, now she's not gonna talk because I can keep quiet. But when there's a group of people and you keep quiet, it snacks. So I respond, and then I get depleted. So she got it. She got that. Listen, talk to her. Come at 2, way after the race, and she would have.
You know, and this is not a nice thing to say. So I'm putting a disclaimer.
Okay.
Do you see that they know when it's not a nice thing?
It's not a nice thing to.
Elon is introvert. The same as you guys.
So
But he's psycho
I
as well.
mean, one of the best periods of, my adult life was during COVID.
I had fun too. I innovated.
During COVID, social distancing, lockdown, I was like, thank God. Yeah, thank God.
How do you deal? Maybe let me ask you this, because last thing, because I think we've been on it.
Yeah.
How do you deal with mental health, especially as introverts, if you're always in your mind or by yourself?
Good question, and I think
we have a lot of mental health.
Yeah, I think for me, I enjoyed COVID because then it was space for me.
Yes.
I didn't have to meet people.
Yes.
And it gave me a lot of time to read. But I think after some time I got tired, right? Because you need fresh air, you need to go out there.
Social beings.
Yeah.
Obviously, human beings.
And I think for me, well, personally, I've had stresses and challenges of business.
Black people don't think they have mental health.
No. I've never really had to an extent where I'm thinking I am depressed.
Yes.
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 I've gone through those phases where business is going horribly wrong, but I've never really been to a space where I'm like, I'm over a prolonged period, right? But I think what has helped me personally is because I read quite a lot, and I'm able to tap into other people's brains. I'm able to, switch off and see life from a different perspective. Live somewhere else. I think that's what has helped me quite a lot. I mean, in COVID 2020, I read 100 books in 2020. How is that possible? Because there was nothing else to do. The only time that I could interact with people was through books, right? But I do know that, and I'd like to hear your view also, because I do know that there are people who, for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's a personality thing, where they're prone to mental health. But I also know that introverts also have those issues as well. So I don't know.
No, I think also you're right in that we tend to live, like you're saying, we're overthinking, and then we live somewhere else as well, in our heads, and that's not always necessarily the real world, right? And that also then gets conflicted with reality. And I think that's where the mental health thing comes in. And also, added to that, being a woman, then you're also hormonal. Then there is mood swings, and there is that. And
at least you know that.
Yeah. And then
I'm joking.
I've lived with it all my life. So then there is also that thing that you need to.
I don't know where I got him, eh? I just don't know where I got him.
One day you'll tell me.
He's embarrassing me.
So then there's coupled with that, then you living in an imbalance of sort, right? And then also another thing, like I said, we do have our energies that we can self pour in, but we also need different kinds. Like, you can't be in the dark all the time. You also need sunlight. So when it's extended period of not being with people and not being social, it also gets to you. Then the overthinking comes in. What's wrong with me? Why are they not inviting me? Then it's then you take it personal, and then it becomes that what's wrong with me, which is not necessarily that. Is because I always say to my friends, give me an opportunity to say no. Yes, I'm going to say no, but give me that opportunity. So in that way, then I know that you're thinking of me, right? And I matter. It's not like when I'm an introvert, I don't want the world to be with me. It's not that. It's I want to coexist. I just need you to understand me. So the conflict with mental health becomes when you are in an environment that doesn't get you. And they don't give you the space to, I mean, I have people who say, Udimudzi, I get imudzi. I'm tired. Like you've been talking to me for 2 hours. I'm done. Whereas I've been pouring into you. So I'm out, And I don't have a problem with silence. I can sit in silence with someone next to me for 3 hours. I'm also okay with that, So I think
there's no war.
There's
nothing.
no war. It's all right.
The war is in here.
The war's in here, right? And I think that is that. Like I think it's the fact that people think that you want to be alone. You don't like people. We like people.
Yeah.
I think people need to understand that we actually like people. We like being with them, just not all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was saying to someone, like, why do you stay so far? Why don't you stay? I'm like, I'd rather stay so far. If I want people, I'll go to people. Yeah, and if I don't want them, I will just retreat.
Sure.
So I want that opportunity. I can't stay in constant all the time. There are
You
people.
can't say
No.
Coco. No. Like, who told you to come?
Video call.
Oh,
Yeah, the guy.
no. And I think that's the thing where people don't understand that it's not only just physical visit, it's also calls.
No, obviously, yeah.
There's a time where I don't feel like talking to people and someone calls.
And those people that you're chatting to, and then they think you're not getting them because I'm taking a breather. I'll phone and I'm like, why are you calling me? I'm going to respond.
But also don't respond after a week and make it look like everything is fine.
No.
I asked you a question about where we're eating, and you have to tell me a week later. No, come on.
I have a friend that just video calls.
Oh,
and she
Lord,
knows
I
that
can't
I
do
will.
video
I
calls.
like, and I told her I don't like it. Video call. It's a Malay appointment. Zoom. It's a Malay appointment. Like you must tell me on a Thursday, the 27 April, 10 o'clock. I'm gonna video call you, so I'm prepared. So she will just video call, and then I'll be like, "Why won't video call her?" Because I knew you won't answer, but you have to answer, right? Like I said, sometimes we do it for the people. It's to say, yes, I acknowledge that you're my friend, and I will meet you halfway. I will take that video call. Matter.
So, okay,
Once a month.
in closing,
Yes.
right? I want to hear from both of you, because you're obviously introverts. What are the lessons that you guys actually have learned? And maybe just two lessons. Don't elaborate too long. What are the lessons that both of you have learned looking at other introverted entrepreneurs that you shouldn't be doing?
I think for me is to leverage on other people, the
Okay.
collaborations.
Yeah.
This thing now you can do it by yourself, it's not gonna work. You can't do it because business is about people.
Yes.
Whether you're giving them product or service, and also if you're the leader in that business, your face needs to be there. So there has to be a time where you go out there, but also if you leverage on a team that also will understand that dynamic, then someone can say, I will present with you. You don't have to do it alone. You can take maybe the intro, I will do the closing or whatever, whichever part of the presentation.
Yeah.
I think that's the one. And also another one is to then know yourself and understand where you are on your energies, because like you say, we can really be rude when we are depleted, and then someone in your team asks you a very simple thing: did you send that email? You know,
And chop their head off.
yeah, you start thinking, do you think I'm incompetent? Blah blah blah. But also it's because the team that's supposed to be your anchor is not getting you. So they're like throwing every energy at you, which is just becomes too much, that you then snap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
that-
think that for me.
Yeah, I think it's similar. I mean, I mentor quite a lot of entrepreneurs, and those that
Okay,
struggle.
that wrong
Yeah.
job there.
Get
No, but
doctor,
I-
like 20 patients a day,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
introverts.
So,
Was
like,
right books,
You must
dog.
talk to people. Go read chapter 5.
so one of the things, I mean, actually, sometime this week I had 4 mentorship sessions.
Yeah.
An hour following each other. I was finished afterwards. I was like,
Your day's done.
I like this is I've earned my.
You
living.
keep-
That's
That's
why
it.
you didn't speak to me this whole week.
Yeah. No, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
this week I'm really you're quiet.
So I think that's when I look at my entrepreneurs, those that struggle with sales, most of the time, those that struggle with sales, most of the time are introverts.
Yeah.
And they are unable to link their character to how it affects their business.
Sure,
So I always have to help them connect the dots to say,
Is the thing, it's shy, and it's not really shy. You know you can talk.
It's do I have to do this?
Yeah.
You know, this thing is good enough. People should just
Yeah.
go
Or send you an email, get
yeah, you know. So most of the time they are introverts and they struggle with that. And I always say, if you can't do it, that's fine. Get someone to collaborate with and find a partner or someone that you can work with
Yeah.
who loves going out there. And so collaboration is important. But I think also vice versa. I've seen entrepreneurs who are out there selling their products, making noise, blah blah blah, but they have an average product. Because, you know, this is good enough and they're gone.
Yeah.
Whether this is quality enough, you know. So also vice versa is important. When you're an extrovert always out there, make sure that you've got Steve Wozniak, the one who can make this thing quite amazing. So I think collaboration for me it's critical. And I think it starts with, to Tebogo's point, you need to know yourself. You need to know your character and you need to know what your limitations, what this character's limitations are.
Yeah.
So that you are then able to know
You supplemented someone else.
supplemented, you
Yeah.
know, to sort of say, you're not sick. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with you, you know. And people are like, yeah, you are such an emotional person. No, you're not an emotional person. You may be an empath, and there's nothing wrong with being an empath.
Yeah.
And knowing yourself means that if you happen to be an introvert, because for a very long time I used to think there's something wrong with me. Right? I would go out there. I remember we were at St. Albans when I was in high school, and started at 6, 7. We had this debating thing, and I wanted to debate. I got there, I froze. I froze. People were like, you know, that person who freezes and people start distracting themselves. And back then, there were no cell phones, so you can imagine. Right? Oh my word, that thing stuck with me to say maybe there's something wrong with me. But then I trained myself, you know, like what Warren Buffett says. He took a public speaking course.
Yes.
It's a skill. You can
Yeah.
learn the skill. It's a skill. Practice it over time. Then you're able to present, right? But even the fact that I'm able to present doesn't mean I enjoy doing it. I can do it, but it's like accounting. I can do accounting, but
Don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, collaboration. Know yourself. You know, you can't get around doing great things all by yourself. It's impossible. If you're gonna do great things, you need collaboration.
You know what's amazing, I think I'm getting a lot from, is the fact that everything was not made to be by itself.
Yeah.
And again, introverts were not made to be by themselves. Extroverts were not made to be by themselves. Personality, women were not made to be by themselves. Men were not made to.
Yeah.
Everything, it's what you talk. We keep on talking about with the metropolitan thing around how diversity breeds innovation.
Yes.
And the same with this whole chat here is you can't have the one without the other. I think that's my takeaway and my whole big thing here is that I think mostly as what you're saying, know yourself, know where you lack so that you can replace it with someone that is able to cover you
Yeah.
in that sense.
But
Because
also
then,
that person needs to understand you as
no,
well.
100%. Yeah. So I mean, that's it's the relationship thing,
Yeah.
which is even more important, right? To
Yeah.
so know that the person that you're building with is still gonna back you
Yeah.
Yes.
enough for you guys to build,
Yeah.
and it's not always gonna be nice.
No.
Because the one thing for sure is that it doesn't mean that if there's yin and yang will always be together.
Yeah.
You know, there will be fights. There will be all of these
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Even if it's two introverts, there
Yeah.
might be fights.
Yeah.
That's just life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one thing I'm taking away as well from
Yeah.
this.
Last word on your notes.
There's nothing in my notes.
Okay.
I'm not overly prepared this time.
Okay.
But I think for me with introverts is we tend to think that people don't understand us, but there is people who would understand, and I think it's also because we don't give the extroverts enough time to get to know us, because it gets too loud, it gets too noisy, and we want to retreat.
Yeah.
But if you want to really succeed, some of these things you just have to chin up and just go.
But I think also we must say that I need my time out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can't smell or breathe
Yes.
through osmosis that you
Yes.
want your time. You know, sometimes we need
Yes.
to also say.
The weather doesn't say that this one doesn't want to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the pod?
That is a part, dog.
Awesome.
Take
Take
us on.
thank you so much. Quite an insightful show. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and share. Yes.
You see,
And,
she's coming back. guys.
Yes,
She
yes,
already
share
knows.
as well. And yeah, follow us on socials, on
Yes.
TikTok, Facebook.
What is it? We've actually never said where they must follow us.
Your
dog.
handles.
TikTok is my biggest blunders.
Yes.
Twitter is my blunder story.
Yes.
On Facebook is my biggest blunder.
And YouTube as well. What is it?
Oh yes, of course. Why? Right? Of
The
course,
main
YouTube
platform.
my biggest blunders as well.
Yes, that's the
So
channel.
that's the
Fail
channel,
Forward
and then
Friday
you'll
is
find
the-
our episodes in there. Please watch, subscribe, share. And hopefully we'll have you here.
And guys, remember, if you see Doc on the road, talk to him. He loves it.
Oh, Kesiam.
Give him a hug.
Oh,
Give him
Kesiam.
a hug.
You know, he's always saying, I'm the one who's popular. And actually, she was like, who's that guy? Everybody knows that guy. Everybody knows that guy.
I
Right?
promise you, I posted that video, I think within 2 minutes. People were asking me about you. I was like,
Yes,
guys, the
you
content is on YouTube.
Yes,
the
you
content is go guy. But no, you know this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
So, comment. Who knows? We might come here. We'll make you famous.
I like Dog.
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Bye.
cheers.